So let's move on to read this article. We're going to read this article and then I'm going to respond to this video. Obviously, today's stream is going to be going a little bit long, but I have a lot to say on this issue. And as I've been talking about this issue for damn near a solid goddamn year now, I've had some pent up feelings about it. All right. I have some feelings. But this is from American Conservative. So you would imagine that American Conservative might be a place where we might have a more nuanced take of conservatism. So let's see. No allies who buy. Okay. Oh, you can go into timeout. You can manage your feelings in your timeout. No allies who buy babies. The problem of gay surrogacy reminds us that the rights alliance with anti-woke liberals cannot and should not survive. Now, I want to say at the top, those who follow me know that I think that there's going to be a libertarian spoiler for president in 2024. I absolutely do. I think the primary place the libertarian spoiler is going to pull votes from is going to be from the Republicans. I think they don't see this coming. And one of the things that the Republicans are going to have to contend with is that when they're running someone for president and they're trying to court politically homeless people, you need votes to win elections, folks. You need votes to win elections. And when this is the message that gay men starting a family are not people that the right wants to align with, okay, you don't need our votes then. You don't need our votes then. There is nothing that the Republicans right now are saying or doing that would convince me that they care about having my vote in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely not. Let's read. Dave Rubin began his career in the late 90s as an intern for Jon Stewart, the putative comedian who was then the host of The Daily Show. I didn't know that. In the first years of the new millennium, he transitioned to the podcast game, heading up such smash hits as Hot Gay Comics and The Ben and Dave Show, the irreverent show where anything goes, under the aegis of Here, an LGBT TV network. By 2013, he was hosting The Rubin Report, an online political talk show for Cenk Uyghur's left-wing outfit, The Young Turks. He went independent after a few years, and ever since has been making a kind of political journey, from progressive to liberal to self-styled conservative, read, still liberal. In an interview last year with the Daily Signal, Rubin explained, while he has started to call himself a conservative, he doesn't actually mean conservative. I think he's a libertarian. I don't know why Dave is pandering to this conservative audience. I think a lot of his friends are conservatives. Well, his friends now. But if I had to guess, I would say he's a libertarian and he just doesn't realize it yet. Or maybe he thinks the Libertarian Party sucks. I don't know. I actually think that even on the conservative side, there's a wide tent of all sorts of issues. You could even take an issue like abortion, which for most conservatives is like, usually as thought of as one that you must be pro-life. Well, there's people like Rudy Giuliani, who's obviously a conservative, who obviously worked for President Trump. He's pro-choice. He's begrudgingly pro-choice. He wants very specific limits on things and things like that. No one is running around saying he's not a conservative. I am. If we cannot draw a line in the sand between ourselves and those who would sanction the industrial slaughter of unborn innocents, then American conservatism is just pointless, but actively destructive. I don't care how big the tent is. If it has baby killers in it, I am leaving. Do you know when the Republicans lost my vote for the foreseeable future? It was when I said, I don't want women who have been AR'd. I don't want women who have been assaulted to be forced to give birth to the child of their assailants. This is actually the first run-in I ever had with Allie Beth Stuckey, by the way. Allie Beth Stuckey said to me on Twitter that she wants to force women who have been assaulted to have the babies of the men who assaulted them. I don't agree with that. And for that, I was called the baby killer 15 ways from Sunday, and forevermore, Republicans lost my vote after that. Forevermore. Because I will not be If you want to talk about drawing lines in the sand, the line in the sand that I will draw is I will not vote for people who truly believe that we should force women who were never given a choice in the matter to have children of the people who assaulted them and performed one of the worst possible things that can happen to anyone. I don't want to be a part of that. Sorry, that's my line in the sand. Yet we cannot afford, if only as an electoral matter, to be purists on every single issue of less grave and moral substance. Alliances, by their nature, entail tensions between each party's interests. The question is where we draw the line. Do we believe along socially conservative Reaganites who insist on a laissez-faire economic agenda? Sure, some libertarians who might not be incensed at the legalization of marijuana. Why would anyone be incensed at the legalization of marijuana? I suppose we might be as well. Foreign policy hawks who are solid on domestic issues, that's a tougher question. And what about the trendy conservative ally of the week, the anti-woke liberal, who is more likely than not to be a gay political commentator? Rubin, Andrew Sullivan, Chadwick Moore, Douglas Murray, Barry Weiss, etc. If there was any hope that such people belonged in the new conservative movement, Dave Rubin did away with it this week with the announcement that he and his legal husband, also named Dave, are expecting 2 children this coming fall. The announcement was met with effusive congratulations from some of the leading lights of the very online right, including many of those whose good work suggests they ought to know better. From Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, from Florida Governor's Ron DeSantis' press secretary to anti-CRT crusader Chris Rufo. Even high-profile accounts devoted to exposing the insanity of the LGBT left crossed sides to declare their approval of Rubin's impending procurement of 2 children, A2, libs of TikTok. So again, this is not some blog. This is not Bryson Gray being crazy on Twitter. This is not Brandon Tatum wondering out loud on an Instagram live stream if he should congratulate Dave Rubin. This is an American fucking conservative saying, how dare these conservative influencers congratulate him? Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Oh, and see, this is what I hear. This is what I always hear this is what I have heard from conservatives for the last year when I have pointed out this problem. Wow, Dr. B, you're sounding like a leftist. I hear this all the time. Literally every single time I have correctly pointed out this problem and this trend for the last year. You sound like a leftist. This is an American conservative. This is not some random Twitter thing. This is not a Twitter beef. This is not a random post somewhere. This is an article in American Conservative. Clean up your own side. Take issue with your own side. In a video posted to his YouTube channel, Rubin explains in graphic detail the process by which he and the other Dave created the 2 children. First, he explains that he was so career-driven that he never seriously considered having children. He reflects, in a weird way, I guess the gay thing kind of gives you like an easy out on that because I'm not a scientician, but it's hard for 2 biological men or 2 biological women to actually reproduce without some help. Hard? Does that mean they can't pull it off if they really put their minds to it? Rubin explains further that growing up in the dark ages of the 1980s New York, he didn't quite think it was normal for 2 men to have babies together. He catches himself quickly, though. I don't like that word. Normal. No, this is not by Ali Besky. We haven't gotten to Ali Beth yet. We haven't gotten there yet. This stream's going long. I've been complaining a lot. But the other Dave finally wore him down, and the 2 men jumped into a process that seems, to a sane observer, intensely dystopian. There are young women who are willing to donate their eggs, and women obviously make a lot of eggs. Some make a lot of eggs, some don't make eggs, but the donors are usually young and healthy. And if they want to help people that otherwise can't have children, they can donate their eggs. So you basically go on all of these websites. There are all of these sites, and it's sort of like Tinder, or whatever app you were dating on, where you kind of swipe through the people and you say, oh, I like the way she looks, or this girl has a great education, or some combination thereof. And there are different rates and things. Okay, I'm sorry. If this is really an anti-conservative thing, I would like a list of how many conservatives have been vigorously campaigning against sperm donation, because sperm donation is exactly the same fucking thing. How many conservatives are against sperm donation? Do they have a moral objection to that? It's literally the exact same thing. And again, where's the list of conservatives that are oh so against surrogacy for straight couples who can't have kids? Incognito says, here comes the brigading, we got your back. I don't know about the brigading. We seem to be pretty fine so far. That's all right. Hate watcher's gonna hate. That last sentence presumably refers to the amount of money Rubin would have paid to give the women to purchase their eggs. Yes, it's a value exchange. An egg is something of considerable value. It is. So they got paid for it. So what? People who donate sperm get paid for that too. The podcaster goes on to explain that a number of eggs, 18 the first time around, were taken from this woman and split into two groups, each of which would be fertilized with one of the two men's semen. Some of it takes, some of it doesn't take, but suffice to say there would be a few zygotes, biologically distinct human beings, were created in the process. And then you need surrogates. So the surrogate obviously is the woman who carries the child. So basically, what you've got cooking here is that we have one baby that is from my stuff and one baby that's from David's stuff, but they will have both have the same biological mother. We wanted them to have that sort of genetic connection. And right now, there are two really fantastic women, and it's not an easy thing being a surrogate. This is not something people really do for money. They do it for a higher purpose for sure. And really, two absolutely amazing women are carrying our babies right now. This is evil, plain and simple. An American conservative, surrogacy is evil, according to these people. Dave and Dave paid for the creation of roughly 18 unique individual human beings just so two of them could be successfully implanted in rented wombs and delivered to their purchasers after a 9-month interval. The fate of the other 16 need not to be spelled out. Okay, so is Americans conservative coming out against all surrogacy? Or is it just when there's a gay couple involved? I'm going to suspect it's the latter. Ty says, please go as long as possible. I'm greatly enjoying this. Thank you, Ty. Thank you for encouraging me in the comments to tackle this topic. Now, Ty started encouraging me a couple days ago. So if you make a comment on my channel, you never know. I might actually do a whole stream about what you want to talk about. Oh, we're still seeing same latent leftist behavior. I'm gone. People are like wild packs of animals here. Yes, get the fuck off my channel. In fact, you know what? If you're going to come on and call me a leftist for correctly pointing out that your side is saying some evil shit, you don't even need to leave, dude. I can block you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Calling this out for a year, and conservatives still can't hear it, even though I'm literally reading from American Conservative. This, of course, is the primary issue, the moral abomination of surrogacy itself. Oh, they are against surrogacy itself. Well, at least I guess they're consistent about that. The commodification of a human child, the relegation of a woman to the status of incubators. This is a secondary concern as well. No. You know who relegates women to the status of incubators? Every single conservative who says women who are assaulted should be obligated to carry the child of their assailant to term. That is a human incubator. That is what the pro-life crowd believes. That is literally what I've been told by Allie Beth Stuckey on Twitter. That is what a human incubator is. Giving the women no choice in performing the act that got them pregnant in the first place. Giving the women no choice about whether or not they should have to carry that child to term. That is what a human incubator is. Someone who voluntarily donates their eggs is not is not doing it against their will. Someone who is a voluntary surrogate says, I am willing to carry that egg to term. That is not a human incubator. That is someone who has made a choice. Allie Beth Stuckey literally believes people should be human incubators, but she believes it should be women who have been victimized. She believes it's perfectly okay for those people to be human incubators because she's pro-life like a good little conservative. But when it comes to a surrogate making a voluntary decision to engage in a process, oh no, that is just beyond the pale. The same people who make a living being outraged that Leah Thomas, who is, I'm not going to say that, allowed to swim in the women's races for his college, her college, I will use the proper pronouns, because you give people basic respect and courtesy, conservatives. You give people basic respect and courtesy. And tell us there's nothing wrong with two dudes having a baby together. Oh, see, again, this is really the distinction. They're not upset about surrogacy. They say it in the article. They can feign outrage. Oh, all surrogacy is wrong, but it's really the two men that they have the problem with. It's really the two men. Here's another one. You are a leftist. Block. The normalization of homosexuality, especially the normalization of homosexual parenthood, necessarily leads to the more radical gender ideology advancing from the left today. If men and women are perfectly interchangeable in sex and in the role of a mother and a father, these things are most closely tied to biological reality, then, of course, they must be interchangeable in everything else. The premises underlying the acceptance of L, G, B, and lead to T sooner or later. So literally, this argument right here is the exact same argument that I heard from the moral majority in the 1990s, and it is what has always made me really apprehensive to have anything to do with the Republican Party. This mentality has been around for a long time on the right. The right has a choice to make. Are they going to flush this mentality out of their respective side and accept that most lesbians and most gay men really don't care about any of this activist bullshit at all and they just want to be happy and live their lives? Or are they going to continue to look like hateful fucking bigots? That's the choice they have to make. AD, do I believe in a post-gender world? Nope. I don't. I don't at all. Okay, Daniel. Calling people bigots for disagreeing with you is pretty leftist adjacent. Daniel just got banned. Thanks for the super chats, Daniel. I'll enjoy spending your money. Enjoy your block. If you guys want to fuck around and call me a leftist, you can show yourself out from the channel. I don't give a fuck. Don't care. A conservative movement that makes its peace with the former three will have to reckon with the latter. With all the torment and chaos it entails, it will also have to answer for the children who become laboratory waste so that Dave Rubin could feel just a little more fulfilled and the two survivors forced to grow up without a mother. It will bear the weight of an order in which eggs and wombs and babies are bought and sold and rented, and helpless children made and paid for by sterile West are left stranded in a war zone. Rubin has a book coming out next month. It's called Don't Burn This Country. I wish he'd make the prospect a little bit less tempting. And there's our author right there. American conservative. American conservative. This is not a good look, conservatives. It's not. And I'm no longer gonna accept you're just a silly leftist and you look like a leftist. If you agree with people like this, you are not someone I consider an ally. I'm sorry. You are certainly not someone I consider a friend. Love is love is love. And most people are just trying to live their lives Dave and David want to have a family, and they have the ability to do that. They have the means to do that, and they will provide those children with more love than they could ever imagine. And that should be all that matters. What should be celebrated right now is that someone in Dave Rubin who has gone out on a limb for conservatives. Dave Rubin has probably brought more people over to the conservative side than most people have. Dude's literally written 2 fucking books about it. And this is the things he gets from American conservative. Things like this just show me emphatically over and over and over again that the political right has absolutely no interest in winning at all. The political right has no interest in winning because the political right doesn't want votes. They're more interested in political purity tests than they are in anything else. AD says, we need a Dave Darrell of the gay community. I'm not sure exactly what that means, AD, but sure. Please explain to me, and we're going to watch the video in a second. Please explain to me how conservatives ever think they're going to win anything if they keep putting out stuff like this. Do conservatives not know how elections work? Or are they just really wrapped up in this ideology that they're going to be stolen anyway, so why don't we just say the most bigoted homophobic shit we possibly can? Is that really what's going on? Have they already just resigned themselves to losing? So they're like, we're just going to give in to the most extreme hateful impulses that we have. Gypsy Witch Production says, I was a Christian for 45 years. When Christians can love their children unconditionally, then they can talk. I agree. Bill says, standing by your faith is one thing, but Christian zealotry is the number one reason why so many non-Christians get scared into voting Democrat. Bill is 100% right. It is literally this attitude from conservatives and from Christians that made me a Democrat. I followed all this stuff when I was a teenager. It is literally, this article could have been written in the 1990s. I read stuff like this all the time in the 1990s. And it is stuff like this that drove me into the Democratic Party because I was probably a 2-issue Democrat. 3-issue. Anti-war. I've always been extremely anti-war, and in the 90s, it was George W. Bush who went into Iraq when Iraq never had weapons of mass destruction. So I was always against that. It was also the free speech issue. Because, again, in the 90s, the moral majority was trying to censor what people could talk about in video games and art and all this stuff, so it was a free speech issue. And then it was the gay issue. Those 3 issues combined, even though I'm not gay, I do believe that everyone should be able to love who they want to love, start a family with whoever they want to start a family with. It was those 3 issues that made me a Democrat. Conservatives are making a lot of Democrats this week. They're making a lot of Democrats. Once again, making it harder to fight back just the way it is.